Hey everyone, I'm Cheryl. I'm host of the Homeschool How To podcast, and I am going to be doing a live today for you guys with Jackie from Free Thinkology. She also has another account, which is Real Raising Cubs. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So I'm so excited to talk to you today. We haven't officially met
I
yet, but
know.
like probably like you, my loud mouth gets me a lot of people messaging me like, hey, thanks for speaking up about this thing or that thing. Or so I assume, do you get those messages all the time too?
Yeah, always. Are you in New Jersey or north somewhere up
New
there?
York, New
New York.
York.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So my husband and I are originally from New Jersey, born and raised, and I feel like for sure, especially because we speak up about things that people are thinking, but they don't actually say them out loud. Especially during 2020, I feel like a lot of us found each other.
Yeah.
Needless to say.
So thank you for reaching out and
Yeah.
just kind of being like, hey, I got your back. Let's chat and kind of empower other people that maybe don't want to speak up either. But you are also a homeschool mom, right?
I am. I am a homeschool mom. Um, Born and raised as far as like public school, college educated, my husband and I have four boys ranging from 14 down to 6. And we've been homeschooling for over a decade. So my boys have never been in any kind of conventional schooling. And that has really impacted our family dynamic and just like different opportunities we're able to take on because we homeschool and all that. So yeah, I reached out to you because I just love what you're doing for the homeschool community, and you're just a powerful voice and light, and I'm just honored to be here. So
Oh my God.
let's do this.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, and so yeah, when you reached out, I was excited because I was watching some of your videos
Yeah.
and like they are hilarious. You have a podcast as well, right? Is it the
Yep.
Sisters podcast?
It's the sister show. It's my sister and I. We have a 16-year age gap, and we just kind of talk about everything you would talk about with your sister, but we let people in on it.
It's
So,
hilarious. It's
yeah.
hilarious. And one of the things that you had said on there, which really struck me, was that you were like, I don't understand why people are saying like their happiness depends on who's in office
Yeah.
and it's actually changing the way that they're living their life. Like it doesn't change anything about the way you live your life with who's in office. Yeah, maybe a law might trickle down, but even at the presidential level, it's like it's hard for that to really be part of our day. Maybe if it's a local office or whatnot, but people are like really like their lives are flipped upside down depending on who's in the presidential seat. And so what you said made so much sense. Like people are actually changing their demeanor, losing friendships, which I have as well. You know, there's a lot of people that don't
Same,
want to talk to
same.
me
I think
anymore.
that comes whenever you do things outside of the norm. Unfortunately, it's like, what is that mirror effect where people, just by you living and me living, people get paranoid as if we're judging them when we're not. And it's just, it's crazy. But yeah, I think we've all lost family, friends, and loved ones. A lot of people, unfortunately, into the 2020 circus for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, you have been homeschooling for over a decade. So this was well before 2020 hits. So COVID was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
your reason.
Yeah. So,
And you don't have that traditional homeschooling sense about you. You know, we all kind of think of like, oh, well, the Amish, or they're like sitting down whittling together all day long. Like
yeah.
you, I mean, I'm just judging right now, but you don't strike me as the type that's like gathering the family to whittle every morning, even though I kind of do
No.
want to know how to whittle now. So I'm not even
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, it's not to
I'm like,
say we don't want to learn those skills, but
that seems like a useful trait right now.
yeah, so actually, my original mommy blogging social media started because the reason why I went semi-viral was because people were like, first off, she's not Amish. Second of all, she's got tattoos and says the F word. And wait a minute, she homeschools, and people are kind of like, this doesn't make any sense. And yeah, so my oldest is 14, which is crazy. And the thing that people are always shocked at, because I am the wild child and my husband's the calm, and I feel like all amazing partnerships are like that where you're complete opposites. But my husband, who was public school raised, and graduated, started kind of leaving little ideas in my head when my oldest was one, he would start saying, why do they make us put our kids in this pre-K or whatever it is? People will call their kid when they're 6 months old, I'm dropping them off at school. And it's like, no, that's daycare, babe. But I, thankfully, because of him, I was able to stay home with my first son and my second. And I honestly, girl, I told him, I'm like, you're crazy. I'm not a teacher. I don't want to do that, and it's not happening. And then the more I looked into homeschooling, and then when my kids started getting to the age, whatever that may be, I was like, maybe I do want to look into this a little more. And so, yeah, I give Sean, God first, but Sean all the glory and credit, because I would have my kids absolutely in regular old school if it wasn't for him even bringing up the idea. So that's actually how it started.
Wow. And were you you're in Florida right now, right?
Yep, we were in South Carolina. So, one thing that I get all the time when people ask me, because of course I know you know this, the How to Homeschool podcast is, well, what are the laws in my state and what can I do and this and that? And so, you always want to make sure you are looking up specifically your state. The craziest thing that I learned, and I know you already know this because you're from the North, is these Northeast, more liberal states actually have the most freedom with homeschool. What I've found compared to, I'm not saying, I mean, Florida's amazing, South Carolina was amazing, but I'm pretty sure even in New Jersey, because I do have a lot of people I know there that do it, there's literally like there's no testing, I could be wrong. I haven't checked it in a while, but yeah. So we originally started our homeschool journey in South Carolina, and now I do it in Florida with the boys. But one of the main things why we chose and continue to choose homeschooling was number one, my second favorite F word, which is freedom. And that is what brought me to it. The freedom to do things our way. And, everyone's journey looks so different. And for us, like at first, I was doubting my ability completely, which I think is normal. All of us are like, wait a minute, can we really do this? And so originally I had my first son, my first two are like Irish twins. So they're literally a grade apart. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? But that actually works out really good for homeschool when your kids are close in age, because you just bunch them together
Yeah.
and do the same thing with each of them. But when I looked into it, I had them first in a co-op. So there was a Christian co-op and I had them involved in that. And girl, throughout 10 years, I mean, my homeschool journey has gone a little crazy and wonky. We're more on the unschooling spectrum now that I have 4 boys. But there was a study I wanted to share, and I'm sure you've heard this. The average American family parents in 2023, it was called the American Time Survey, if you want to look it up. The average amount of time that parents are spending with their kids daily is 1 hour. And I'm
Wow.
like, look,
Wow.
I lose my patience. Okay. And I'm like, get the frick away from me. And I'm hiding from my children right now, not even at my house. But that's insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That, on average, it was like 9.5 hours a week we're spending with our kids. And especially when they're little, and then really much so in their teen time, we need to plug back into the nucleus of family. And so the freedom has always been what drew us to homeschooling for sure.
Yeah, New York, we have strict laws in New York,
Do
but
you
that doesn't mean New Jersey is, I agree that it's probably around us that don't, but New York's one of the strictest. But
really?
even at that, it is, I worked for 16 years in government. It's no different than what I would have to report for my
Right.
employees. Like they're, this is what I intend to, have
Yeah.
you do for the next
Right.
year. And then every quarter, this is what we've done. So
Right.
that's the extent of it. And then there is testing, once they get to a certain age every other year. But
Yeah.
you can request that test come to your house. And
Yep.
like, I'm not saying I would do it, but like the test is at your house. You can proctor it. So like
Yeah.
nobody wants anything better for your kid than you.
Exactly.
So if you're not going to do them a disservice by
Mm-mm.
filling out the whole test for them, but you're not going to let them fall behind either.
No.
So because we love them, we want them to do well. That's why we're homeschooling them. And I totally believe that statistic, because when you add in, they're going to before care, A
Right.
lot of them are going to aftercare. So there you've got at least 10 hours. And when I think about my work day, I would drive down to Albany and back. So that was 8 hours plus 2 hours of commuting. And then, yeah, you've got sports in the evenings, birthday parties, and whatever else activities that you feel inclined, like you have to do or you're missing out,
Exactly.
fear of missing out. Yeah, it probably is 1 hour that you're actually together, not sleeping. That's crazy. How are you going to instill anything in your kid for 1 hour a day? I mean, you want to spend that time
Yeah.
enjoying them. So, yeah.
And when I
Were you
say
guys?
that, I don't want anyone listening, because I realize, especially I try to put myself back to Jackie 10 years ago, and I hold space for anyone who, is thinking they can't do it, or they're like, this is not shade. This is not me judging those other parents at all. It's just, I think we need to take a harder look at the time that we are spending with our children. And when we look around at this upside down world, it starts at the family. It starts with the family. It starts with the parents. It starts with your kids. And so, honestly, girl, all parents and all mothers, we're homeschoolers, and I think that's the thing that more women need to realize. And if you are in a situation where homeschooling, look, I know people that work full-time that homeschool, so I will say, if you make the excuse, which most people don't want to hear, it's just not a priority to you, and that's okay. But if you're thinking of homeschooling, if it's on your heart, I say go for it. And this is not a marriage. At any time, if I thought any of my children would do better in a regular school setting, I would absolutely put them there. But
Yeah.
so far, taking it day by day, we're kicking ass. And another thing, I'm glad you brought up the whole government stuff, is that in 2020, you want to know who didn't skip a beat? Was the homeschool families,
Yeah.
which I felt so bad for the kids doing virtual school and with the masks and everything. And there's a lot of mind effery that was going on, and my kids didn't skip a beat, and I'm so grateful for that. And it was so funny, people would reach out to me and be like, how do you do this? And I'm like, babe, virtual school is not what we do. It's not,
Yeah.
we are not the same, and I don't know how you do it, because it's close to impossible. And I know you know this, and you've talked to so many amazing people, is even the teachers are like, we cannot do what we need to do with these kids. You see with your children, they're so different,
Yeah.
and learning styles are so different. It's like, I feel teachers need to be paid, way more than six figures, in my opinion. And I think that would bring back some good teachers, but it's never going to happen, unfortunately.
Well,
um
yeah, the intention isn't to
right.
produce a nation full of free thinkers, which kind
Exactly.
of leads back to what I was going to ask you was, do you, the whole, we're only with our children 1 hour a day on average, do you think it's by design?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, who founded, the school system in general? Jay, whatever his name is, Rockefeller. They want to make employees. And when here's my shot, I'm shooting it. What the hell does school look like? Prison,
Hmm.
jail. I mean, I know that's dramatic, but I'm a dramatic kind of girly. Stay in line. Don't raise your hand to pee. Don't think outside the box. I'm an entrepreneur through and through, and none of the things I learned in school I use. I'm a college educated person, and I don't use any of that shit.
I
And I'm not saying that we need to raise up illiterate children, but true. And my progression of homeschool, I sat there with my boys when they were little again, but here's why: the societal pressure of, yes, every state has different hourly, requirements, but I was trying to make homeschool look like what I
school.
knew of school, which
Yeah.
is sit down, shut up, raise your hand. And
Hmm.
that's not how you raise, like you said, critical thinking, free thinking entrepreneurs that learn a trade, and aren't these little worker ants out there. And by the way, I'm not saying that the world needs all kinds of people, but if you take a hard look at our school system in the last 100 years, it has not changed. Every other thing that you look at has evolved and grown and come up with the times, except for school.
Yeah.
Like, kids should not be sitting especially boys should not be sitting in a desk for 6 hours a day. That's just not how God made them. So yeah, it's absolutely by design. And there's the conspiracy tinfoil hat I'll put on. And also think back to when our society was thriving, was when we had one room schoolhouse. It was when families were together more. Again, like I said to you, that hour a day, how much are you able to instill in your kids if at 4 years old they're already out of the house?
Yeah.
Please tell me. Also, a 4-year-old still naps and might even still wet the bed. Like, that's a baby, in my opinion. So Yeah, no, it's all by design for sure.
Well, and it even goes down to 6 weeks old because
Right.
they, want you back to work at 6 weeks if you're a
Oh yeah.
working mom. I was lucky to at least take 6 months with
Yeah,
my son,
which
but
is great.
it's crazy though because now that I've been home with my daughter since she was born, I see all the things that I missed with him. And it's not even just like the first time they walk or crawl or say mama. Like those are, yeah, okay, those are bad to miss. But it's like all the times she needed a hug from mom. Like she was just
Right.
feeling and she just needed mom. My son didn't have me there. He had the daycare ladies, and I'm sure they were nice
Yeah.
people, but it's not family. They weren't mom and just all it's crazy to me too because it's like I don't know, I just look at the things little things that he does and I'm like, "Oh, I wonder why he does that." And I can't even tell you because I haven't been there every day with him since he was born. Like something could have happened to him at daycare and I wouldn't know about it. The daycare providers might not even know about it. It might have been between
Yeah.
him and a kid
Yeah.
or anybody walking in their household. Like it's crazy to me to think that I'm like, yeah, I couldn't tell you if anything serious happened or something that maybe traumatized him in any sort of way because I wasn't with him. And you don't think about that stuff until now I've had the second and I've been
Right.
for 2.5 years. I've been with her every single day and I'm like, wow, like seeing the difference.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but also it's a perspective I can give to someone who's especially someone who's been a stay-at-home mom forever and they're like, "Oh, I'm missing out on the real world." Like,
Right.
no, you're not. Those people don't
Yeah.
care about you there.
Yeah.
You're replaceable there.
But don't beat yourself up with that mom guilt. I mean, look how you've evolved and you're a kick-ass mother and wife and all the things. So I'm definitely let's not live there. And God will use that experience for your son to refine him. I mean, my first kid was like my guinea pig, right? So there's a lot of mistakes we all make as mothers. And so don't be, you're amazing and what you're doing is amazing for the homeschool community. But it's crazy because you think about too, what's a hot take, because I'm a nutritionist and I work with clients every single day, and it's like everyone's talking about their nervous system and cortisol.
Yeah.
uh think of that morning time rush, which thankfully I've never really been in that rat race, and I was a stay-at-home mom, but which again, this is the hardest job in the world. But with that being said, when we did have him in a Christian co-op in the beginning, that running around, it was only 2 days a week. I was like, how do these mamas do this 5 days a week? It was crazy. And it's not a situation, I see the school bus leaving here in the Keys. We live in Florida on an island, and these kids are out there when it's dark. And then, I'll get my homeschool done in an hour with all four kids. And, then I see them back at 5, 6 p.m. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to do that. So it's just a lot of running around and rushing around, all by design, like you said. And, I want to empower women and families. If it's on your heart, try it, do it, and you will not regret. The one thing I always say to people that reach out to me is, you will never regret the time you spent with your kids. And they are only, and I'm going to get emotional, but like, my oldest is 14, he's 6'2". And it's like, I feel like time is just on fast forward. I blink and it's like another year just passed us. And so really being able to know that, like, not perfectly, there's F-bombs and patience lost every day, but I spent all of my time I could with these kids, and it's what a gift that is. So yeah.
Yeah. And and I lose my patience too a lot. And I come from that like that mother that's always rush, 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 rush. And even at 77, she's retired and like has nowhere to go. She's still rushing places. And it's like, oh my gosh, mom. And so I'm trying to remove that from, but I do it with my son. Even like I can't even make it to an 11 o'clock play date on Tuesdays by 11. Like, yeah,
Me
I'm
neither.
right with you. Like we're there an hour late every week. But it is that rushing them out of bed, awake when they're not
Mhm.
ready. Their bodies might be fighting germs or whatever we believe in, terrain fear, whatever, but their bodies are doing something. And, especially as young kids, their
Mhm.
brains are connecting synapses and they might need that sleep. Like they need it. And then to be rushing them out of the door by, geez, yeah, like you said, when it's still dark out, putting them
Yeah.
out in the cold. And I know the school down the street from me, like they won't even have the kids go outside if it's under 40 degrees. So
Mm,
I'm in upstate New York.
right.
I mean, it's always under 40 degrees. So
Yeah.
they're never outside. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And okay, you're a nutritionist.
Right.
So the other aspect of this is the free breakfast and lunch
Mm,
program that like
mm,
pretty much all schools have it now for all kids because we don't want to discriminate against the kids that need the free and reduced lunch. So I think it's
sure.
pretty much universal. Everybody gets. So I could send my children to school with all organic food, you know, that we source locally, no hormones, antibiotics in it, make it all for them, and then they'll just throw that
Oh,
away for pizza and
oh yeah.
nachos.
Yep.
I mean, how does that impact a child throughout their day when they're getting the toxins from the food in that program?
Right. And the other thing is, which is so unfortunate. I mean, I promise you, I'm pretty sure every boy out there, including my husband, has some form of ADHD or autistic something spectrum. I feel like, you know, we're constantly trying to put labels on childhood or
Mm-hmm.
a boy, you know. And again, I know that there's situations where you know, there's different learning disabilities and all these things. But, you know, just recently I read a study that was published, and I can send this to you when we get off of here, that literally they took away processed food and all the stupid red dyes and everything, which I know this is a hot take right now that people are talking about. And 80% of these kids no longer had ADHD or hyperactivity. Now, I'm not saying, I won't shoot my shot of saying, you know, we can cure autism, even though I do believe, and I know people that have done that before through many different ways. But, you know, so you're feeding them the processed garbage in the morning. They're coming in, whatever, from what all different backgrounds, and that's the beauty of school, is you get to be around a melting pot of different people usually. And then we're giving them the red dyes, we're giving them the sugar and the processed foods, and then you're the teachers having 30 plus kids or 20 plus kids. Yeah, those kids are going to go on Adderall because now we need them to sit down and shut up for the next 6 hours. And so I'm like, we need to take a hard look at that nutrition and all of it. It's like I said to you in the beginning of this, why hasn't the school system changed in 100 effing years? Someone please tap in for me. And maybe we'll get someone that's like, no, it has, we're evolving. No, 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 we're not. And there are very small situations that I see, you know, models of schooling that I'm like, oh, I can get down with that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would love to put my sons in something like that, but I don't know. It's crazy. And it's all connected, as I know, you know. I see your Tuttle twins back there. They're my favorite for homeschool.
They're awesome. They're awesome. Yeah, you're right though. And the only way school has evolved in the last 100 years is getting
Right.
longer, like taking our kids younger. Because when I was younger, I'm 41.
Yeah.
When I was in kindergarten, it was half a
Hmm.
day. Now that's mandatory full day where I live. And there's the option to send your kid to preschool in the school system. Like preschool
Mm.
used to be a separate,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
church or something every other day. It is now full day from like 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. preschool at 4 years old. So yeah, the only thing that's changed is they've added more time to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just it's wild. And you know, half the time now with these free thinking teenagers I've raised, I'm like, maybe I raised you a little too much with those critical thinking skills, because you kind of look down at them like, oh my gosh, like I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, so for my journey as far as that goes with homeschool, it's like we did the co-op. I have literally, girl, I'm very unique because I've done everything with them. I've done, you know, out of the box full ass curriculums. We've done co-ops, we've done Montessori situations. And right now we are definitely on the unschooling spectrum. I barely will do, I don't know if you've heard of the 5 hour school week, but I really love that book. If you haven't heard of
No.
it, it's really, yeah, I'll have to text you that. The 5 hour school week. And then another one that I read once a week, a year, not a week, that'd be funny, is a book called Homeschool Bravely. Very short, easy read. And that book, oh man, it really kicks me in my butt when I'm kind of, you know, doubting my ability. I think that's the thing that people need to realize is on a daily basis, I doubt if I'm cut for this. And I think even down to my youngest, who's 6, and my oldest of 14, I'm sure I'll be doubting myself until he turns 18, the youngest, because this is a huge call. This is a huge deal. And, you know, when you drop your children off, and this is obviously what the norm for society, you can blame the principal, you can blame the pastor, you can blame everyone else. But you know what, here, if I'm raising a serial killer, I can only blame myself at this point, because no, I'm not. But you know, it's like, yeah, that's a big deal. And I will say this too, although my husband was the one that was like, we're gonna do this, he doesn't do it. I do it. I'm not saying, when it comes to the life skills and, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, the things that my sons are able to learn because they can go to work with dad, or, real life hands-on things that boys actually want to learn. Like I've seen your son all the time in the backyard. I love that. That's school, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But when it comes down to sitting down and teaching a kid to read, it's me.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I would say though too, because I've done so many different kinds of homeschool with them, is just allow your homeschool journey to grow with your family and change. I'll never forget when I had my oldest, who's 14 now, in his co-op homeschool, the tutor, and she was amazing because they had a tutor back then in this co-op, and she's like, if it wasn't for his younger brother coming up right behind him, we should have him stay back. He's not at the reading level. And man, that was my first year homeschooling. And I was like, I'm failing. I called up my husband and he got so pissed off. He's like, first of all, he's homeschooled, so there's no grades.
Yeah.
He's like, second of all, he's perfect. You're doing. And it's always the best thing I ever heard from this veteran homeschool mom. She did it like literally, she was probably Amish. She had like 8 kids. I'm being mean, but anyway, you get the point. She fit the mold of what homeschool was.
She's
And
not listening to this
she's
live.
not listening. She doesn't have the internet. No. And I'll never forget, I was like, he's behind. And she looked at me and she said, behind who? And I was like, well, now that you say that, I don't know. Who is he behind? Because the thing is our kids, they catch up. And look, like anything else in any other trade you learn, or anytime you go live for the first time, how bad was your first podcast
Of
episode?
course.
I'm sure it was bad, right?
Terrible.
Terrible. We're still learning. And so have that outlook with your kids as far as, as you grow, as they grow. The other thing is my son, he's going to here on the island in Marathon in the Keys. They have a pilot school for homeschool kids. Like this kid's going to be flying a jet plane, maybe not a jet, but a plane as a teenager. Now,
Oh,
find me one school that will allow your 14, 15-year-old to learn how to fly an airplane. Like, no. What do the Hollywood celebrities that we can't stand do? Their kids are homeschooled. Like, they're not sticking their kids in this rat race BS. And I'm not saying I'm a public school grad over here, and I think I'm pretty cool. And that's the other one that comes up a lot. And I know you didn't ask this, but I think you'll laugh because we hear it all the time. It's the socialization thing, right? You would
yeah.
have to lock your kid up in an effing closet and actually be raising a serial killer, for your child not to be social.
Right.
Seriously, like think about it.
Yeah.
The weird kid in public school in New Jersey or New York is the weird kid in homeschool.
Yeah.
It's the parents. It's not the freaking
Right.
socialization. No,
Right.
I'm all about child led. And again, I'm not saying that I don't throw, like my kids have never ever gotten a grade. And people are like, how? And I'm like, we take the test, I look at it, I look it over, you got these three wrong, then we relearn it, and then we move on from that once the concept is learned.
Mhm.
A thing that works for us too is from the 14-year-old down to the 6-year-old, let the 6-year-old sit in on these lessons. I'm a one table kind of girly, and I'm not saying that works all the time. I have to separate the teenagers from the younger kids a lot when I'm doing like a new concept. And there's lots, I'm a yeller because I'm from North Jersey and Greek. And, so I'm not over here like, okay, fam, like I'm not her. If you think I'm the homeschool teacher, that's like, you know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
some of these accounts on Instagram, you're like, wow, I'm not that great.
Right.
I'm not her. But I let my savage Luke sit in on a lesson that no school would let a 6-year-old in on. And by the way, from the top down, the older kids are learning patience. They're learning, how to slow down and talk to their 6-year-old brother. And then the 6-year-olds, learning to be more mature. And that's another thing. I can't tell you how many times people will walk up to us and they're like, your kids are so well behaved. And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not really around that many other children on a daily basis. But it's because I know that it's because we allow our children as homeschooled kids to be in adult situations that a school wouldn't let them be in. And so they can have these conversations with like an 80-year-old, whoever you think is successful, and there's no disconnect, because I've never talked to my kids like they were, I mean, like a kid, but you understand what I'm saying. They're in
Yeah.
these adult situations where they're able to use their brains, and they're not told to shut up and sit down and, just it's impossible for you to really gauge every child in the classroom. I feel so bad for these teachers because you have gifted children, you have kids that take a little more time, and it's like, did you see that study? I shared it to, talk my, what, a couple weeks ago, and it was like, I don't remember the state, and don't quote me, maybe Ohio, I don't know, and it was like 90% of the kids aren't at their reading level. And here we are as homeschool parents, like doubting ourselves.
You're so right. And again, going back to what I said, their days are longer.
I
They're in
know.
school for longer. So
I
why are the
know.
reading levels going down? But they're not teaching kids to love
Right.
reading. They're teaching them how to read so that they can pass a test, so that they can stop reading once they've graduated.
Right.
That's what, kids, that's how kids in school look at it.
I know.
And I love that, like, that you're just being honest about, yes, I yell, or yes, it doesn't always go as planned. But I mean, I think when you think about the school, do you think the teachers are not yelling at the kids? I mean, they'd have to be
I
on
mean,
some
should
sort
I
of
go get some
medication to numb them,
tinfoil?
because, like, I can't. I mean, my two make me go crazy. So I can't imagine a classroom of 30. Like, you'd have to literally be a saint to never yell at these kids. So the way I look at it as, okay, I yelled at them, but now we have the opportunity for me to either, if I was in the wrong, to
Of course.
apologize and
That's a lesson.
teach my kids what being sorry and apologizing and moving forward is. Or, maybe they really did do something wrong, and I'm there to see it, to witness it, and to correct their behavior
Yeah,
for next time.
exactly.
But you have this stranger. Like, I still remember, I don't remember much from school, but I remember our chemistry teacher just losing it, and he just took a ruler and started smacking the
We
desk and
probably need more
collapsed on the
teachers like
desk.
that.
And oh, I still feel bad for that guy, because he probably is still, like, mad at himself for that. But I'm like, that really wasn't that
No,
nice.
I
But
know. Well, think about it too. I'm sure you've seen that meme on TikTok or something where it's like, I would never die for my kids or kill for my kids, which I think you and I are those moms that absolutely we would. And you think about how we would walk through fire for these children that God gave us. And then we also lose our complete shit on these children that God gave us. And so, of course, a stranger is not going to have the fortitude and the patience. Um, if we don't have it, these are our hearts living outside of our body. And no one knows your kids better than you. No one, you don't need to have your college education. You don't need to have a special education, doctorate to be able to school your kids. And the other thing is, we're in 2025. All right, we have chat GPT, we have AI, we have all the, like, there is no excuse. YouTube, I believe, is the future of all education. Name one person that doesn't search a video up on YouTube and learn something from it. And so we need to, like I said to you in the beginning, take a harder look at, use the resources, find your village, whether it's a co-op. Right now, I'm like a real big rebel and I don't do any of that. But like, I feel like a mad scientist. I like this math. Okay, we're going to keep this one. Oh, this English is not working for my 10-year-old. Let's try this one. Free resources like Khan Academy and Tuttle Twins YouTube channel and just all these different beautiful places. Think back to, like I said to you, 100 years ago, where I always joke with a lot of my clients and people that I mentor with business, like, these housewives didn't have the ability to go live and find a community and talk to other women. They felt so alone. You are not alone. The homeschool tribe is out there. You just need to look a little harder for them and use the resources, maybe for a period of time. Right now, my 10-year-old kid does not want to learn from me right now. We're in a stage. I don't know. I never had any of my other ones this tough on me. I will use something like Outschool. If there's a concept that, I suck at math, girl. I suck at it. So between my husband and tutors, my kids they'll figure, we'll get there, But another funny thing, and I kind of go off the beaten path with it, is like, when do you use, unless you're an engineer, there's very small specific algebra and the square root of this and all this. I mean, unless that's the route you and you'll know as you go with your kid and learn their learning style and all that. There's so much fluff, there's so much wasted time. And I know you talk about this all the time. I'm able to get through what a teacher with 30 kids would take her the whole day. I could do that in an hour, easy. And you're talking 6 to 14 years old.
so what does your day look like with your kids, with your boys?
So right now, what we are doing is we have 2 solid days of homeschool. As far as, you're going to sit down and you're going to shut up. No, I'm kidding. I'm not really kidding though. You're going to sit down, and when you have your kids, once they can learn to read and write, you're able to hand them this and be like, sit over here, I love you, do that. One hack is, get headphones. So the older boys, I'll give them headphones, whether you play Beethoven or, Lil Wayne, that's up to you. Use your discretion. But like I let my kid, the older ones, put headphones on and draw out the little kids because it can be a little frustrating, especially my 6-year-old. So I'll sit down, I'll hand the older boys, 13 and 14, their work, whether they put headphones on or not, whether they go crawl back in bed and do their work, it's totally up to them. And then round table once, and honestly, it's phonics that is the hardest when you have a bunch of different age groups. You want to really just like dial in with your kids as far as that goes. But we'll do that, let's say 45 minutes. And then when the boys are done, the older ones, and I'm done with the concept with the younger boys, we come back to the table and we'll do Tuttle Twins together, constitution work. We'll do a science, project. Yesterday, another thing is when if you're pushing it and it's just not happening, just stop. Just
Yeah.
go find a recipe and have the kids that are driving you bonkers go cook. That's what we did yesterday. I was like, I'm going to this is not working. So but because I've been doing it for so long, I realize I'm behind no one and they're going to get it. Just like when a new mom comes to me and says, I can't get my kid to give up his passy or his potty train him. I'm like, they're not going to be 21 walking down the aisle with a pacifier. I promise you that. So not that we don't do hard things, but when you have days like that, I'm definitely the woman that like closes the book and I'm like, screw this, like go do your thing. But so once the older kids do their concept, the younger ones, then we'll do some round table something together. And then that's it. That's the whole day. And when I say to you, I only do it 2 days a week, every day that your child is awake, their eyes are open, they're learning. They might be learning really shitty behavior of what their marriage is, or they might be learning, politics from listening to the freaking podcast or news you have on in the background, but they're learning. And so I would challenge you to rethink, not you, but anyone listening to this, your kids' eyes they're open, they're learning. And so that's the whole mentality of child-led and unschooling is, being able to realize that my kid, he went to school. If you really want to know, they do 12 hours a day of school because their eyes are open. And that should make you and whoever's listening to this feel so much better.
Yeah.
Going back to the 14-year-old when he was 6 in the co-op, and that tutor, she was a sweetheart, said, he needs to stay back. Do you want to know what I did? You're gonna laugh. I took both boys because I had them in it was kindergarten, co-op, and then they said he should stay back, and my husband was like, no. And the following year, I was pregnant with our fourth, and I'm not a cute pregnant person. I'm dying basically, and I was like, I can't drop these boys off. This is not working. I pulled my 6-year-old and my 5-year-old out of this Christian co-op. Girl, we did zero worksheets, zero work that entire year. Now, where I am in my homeschool journey now, my 6-year-old, I don't even make him sit down for any work unless, like I told you, he'll listen to the older kids, but I've evolved as far as that goes. Like, I don't think children, and this is an unpopular opinion, should be sitting down trying, especially boys, until 7 years old, is what I've learned with 4 boys that I've homeschooled. That doesn't mean they're not learning.
That's what Finland does.
Yeah.
7 years old.
Yep. And that is like, someone said to me the other day, isn't Luke in first grade? And I kind of looked at them like, no, no, he's not. He's not. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, I took that whole year off. And guess who was reading at a 3rd grade level by the end of that year? The kid that they said stay back. And that was literally just from daily life. It was from, I'm not saying I didn't read to him every day. I'm not saying he wasn't. Another funny one is put the closed captions on when you watch a show.
Yeah.
Such a lazy homeschool hack because their little eyes are watching as the people are talking and they're seeing the words because so much of freaking school is memorization.
Yeah.
Memorizing facts that are useless, but obviously we need to learn how to read. But yeah, no, we took the year off. Kid was on 3rd grade level, but by the time he went into 2nd grade, and we didn't do any sit down school. So God does these little forehead flicks or nudges in my life, and I can only speak with confidence because I've messed up so many times, and I have the proof in the pudding of a 14-year-old now. Whereas, a new homeschool mom's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna screw this kid up, or I'm pulling my kid out in second, whatever it is. I sound confident because I have my guinea pigs that I see the proof, you know? And yeah, so that's one story I always like to tell people when they're doubting their ability. And if God has called you to it, you got this. And rely and find your tribe. Listen to the homeschool podcast, ask the questions. None of us have this figured out. None of us. Um, so yeah. And we don't do any my children have never taken one standardized test. I don't give them grades.
Awesome.
I do spelling tests because you need to learn how to spell. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, as the mother, like, you know, if your kid got it. And that's when we move on. The other thing that's so beautiful about homeschool freedom is when you have a child, my 10-year-old, the one that's giving me a run for my money right now with phonics and reading and everything, he's creative. He's like going to be the next, you know, I don't even know what. He gets a lot of that from me. So I handed him a camera the other day. I have an extra vlogging camera. I make all my money and everything from social media and editing, and I'm like, here's a camera. Go do something with this thing. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So, you know, he's running around, and my 13-year-old, he'll be 13, he's 12. He started a whole ass YouTube channel with my permission, and I will never name drop it because I don't need crazies going to watch it. But it's a gaming channel because he has more free time because he's homeschooled, and you never see his face or anything. He taught himself how to edit the videos, how to put, you know, captions over it, hashtags. This is the future of all marketing and all businesses. And he's teaching himself this at 12 years old because he has the time. That's the other thing. When you homeschool, then your kids are able to figure out. One thing that chaps my ass, girl, is why are we asking 18-year-old children what they want to be when they grow up? Like,
Yes. Oh,
bro,
my
your
sister's
brain
kids are
isn't
all at
even,
that age.
it's
Yes,
not
I feel
even
so bad for them.
developed. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But
Well,
again,
and
going
not
back
even
to,
that, but no one's laid out all the jobs for them that are going to be available in 5 to 10 years and say, which one would you like?
yeah,
And
yeah.
here, just give us
Remember,
$200,000 of your money. In fact, we'll just put it up. The taxpayers can actually pay it, but someone's going to pay that debt for you to decide right now, without knowing all the jobs that exist, what you want to be. And we're all just okay. We're all like, I got a 4-year degree for what?
same,
Sitting here
same.
in the
And I
middle of the
am
day learning, like your son, how to edit
right.
videos off of
And
YouTube.
I'm not saying, by the way, I mean, I'm very unconventional. I'm like, oh yeah, because YouTubers literally are billionaires out there. But like, I'm not saying that that will be his profession. I'm not saying that. But that is a skill, again, just like your son in the backyard doing what he's doing with your husband. These are life skills that an 18-year-old that graduates from the best private school in New Jersey or New York, they don't have. They don't
Yeah.
have them. They don't
Yeah.
have them. And so the truly well-rounded child is the ones that are bored, and they get the opportunity to figure out and try different trades and all that. And again, going back to me being so unconventional with my tinfoil hat, I absolutely can't stand the whole college push down everyone's throat thing. By the way, homeschool kids are scouted by all the Ivy League if you want to go there, if that's important to whoever's listening to this. And you're like, okay, 4-year degree, whatever, get their PhD. But learn a trade. And if one of 4 of my kids that I don't really want to go to college end up going to college, I fully support that, and I will make sure that they do all the tests and have all the SATs. But again, going back to we know our kids best. And again, not to get emotional, as the mom guilt we all have and share is like, I blinked and I have a 14-year-old 6'2" man child. And I can't even imagine, if I have been dropping him off 5 days a week for 6 hours, how much more I would be like, not if that's all you know, it's all you know. But like, going back to never regretting the time you spend with your kids, I don't have any regret with that. These kids are with me through and through. And just like you were saying, when we lose our patience, of course we lose our patience. We're with
Mhm.
them 24 damn 7. I'm over here hiding from my kids to do this. And so, you know, I'm able, like you said, there's lessons. When I said to you, if your eyes are open, you're learning.
Yeah.
When you screw up, if I drop a F-bomb to my 14-year-old and I'm wrong in that situation, I'm not always wrong, but if I was wrong, there's so many valuable character lessons in, like you said, asking for forgiveness, saying I'm a human. watching, because my husband works from home a lot, like watching, they watch me do my editing my videos, they watch me lead a Zoom on a podcast. Like your kid, you're setting such a beautiful example and you don't even realize it, and teaching your kids these life skills that they wouldn't learn. And who knows them best? Us. um and there, it's not the Amish homeschool, even though I want to go hang out with the Amish because they got it all figured out over there. Seriously. Like in 2020, did you see the meme where the guy's like, so the Amish were right all along, you know? But listen, it's not like that. This is not, I'm not in my apron. I know trad wives is trending. I am a trad wife. I just don't look like one. But at the same time, you, like I said, there's so many different resources. My bigger page, which, hi, we're on Free Thinkology. Real Raising Cubs is my actual page that I'm on all the time. And because of 2020, I'm banned from going live. But over there on that page, like I've always shared, just the realness of just like, you can do this. If you have to be a little delusional, but there's hard days, but it's always worth it. I'm sure I love that you're able to compare both versions of who you are and how you show up for your family, and you'll be able to see the difference. I saw you did a post, or maybe it was your story, when you were saying, like, in the morning, I think it was, the cuddles or something, and I'm like, it's so true. We take these things for granted. And it's amazing. And I'm just, again, there's bad days, but just, you'll do what's a priority. And if you feel like it's not working as far as conventional school, try it out. It's not, like I said, a marriage. You can use so many. What about these hybrid schools that they do, or with online, like I said to you, outschool, I think it's called, I'm pretty sure. I don't know
Yep.
if you've heard of it.
Yep.
Outschool, you have a million tutors and teachers at your fingertips for a great price if you're struggling with one of your kids. But yeah, no, like, the other thing is, my 14-year-old, at 14, even though he is a man child, he's still a child.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I know it's gonna happen. I know he's gonna want a girlfriend, and I know all the, but like, he's very innocent. He's still like, as someone that, I don't feel like my childhood was protected, and I went to public school and went to college. I take pride in that he's still a kid. And I understand that that's not for everyone, but I'm like so grateful for that. He's not um I don't need to say the things that I'm thinking that we see.
Right.
And then the other thing that we haven't mentioned, which we don't need to go here if you don't want to, is what kind of freaking values are they shoving down our kids' throats? Especially in these more liberal cities, and I'm not saying, oh, conservatives, we have it all figured out perfectly. I'm not saying that, because I know of Christian schools that are like cults. So I'm just saying, in general, like, what I teach my kids, we also show up, and the values of that are the main thing. And one other thing I'll say to you is, with the whole 7-year-old thing that I get canceled all the time for saying I don't make Lukey sit down for school, which he does a little bit, is I lost my train of thought. Where was I going to go with it? I don't
You
know. It
don't
might
make
come back to me.
the
What?
7-year-old sit down. You don't make the 7-year-old sit down for like
Yeah,
formal.
I
Well,
forgot. It might come back. Who knows?
but the conservative schools, I mean, any school, public schools, private schools, they're all getting funding from some
Mm-hmm.
sort of government thing. Our school down the road, I mean, yes, I'm in New York, but it's kind of like a more country area. And there was a pamphlet or a flyer, and it said, "Make trans dreams a reality," in the hallway of the middle school. And I thought a student like painted it in art class. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess they're not going to not hang it up. A
Yeah.
student painted it. You have to honor that. But I did take a picture of it. And my friend said there's a logo in the bottom of that. And it was, yeah, a logo from a nonprofit organization, from a government, but that they, I don't know if they're nonprofit, but they were giving money to the school. So therefore the school was putting up their agenda. And it's this whole cyclical thing. And same with the testing.
Right.
It's like, if you're accepting funding, you have to do what they say. And
Yeah.
private school is no different. Private schools were
Right.
masking too during COVID because they're
Right.
accepting funding from the
Right.
government. So the only way really to get out of that, like you said, there are hybrid schools popping up. I see some in our area. We've got learning centers. They can kind of beat around the bush from, and avoid having to do the restrictions that New York might make them do by being called a learning center versus or a
Right.
space. I think that's what it is. It can't be a learning center, but it can be a space.
Okay.
So now it sounds like a cult because of the word the space. but that's essentially, yeah, they're finding different ways to educate kids in group settings, or for
Right.
moms and dads that both work and want someone to take hold of a little bit of that responsibility. I see that being the future of
Hmm.
education.
Hmm.
And public education is going to end up being like the welfare of education,
No, literally.
Think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I remember now, and I'll forget. So let me tell you what I was going to say with the 7-year-old thing, or this, not doing sit down school is honestly, until double digits, all I care about is your character. That's the only thing I really care about. And if you have that mindset with your son or your daughter, I'm not saying that they, let your daughter, if she's like, oh, I want to learn math and this and that. But like, if we could, as parents, focus more, not on the tests and grades and SATs and what do you want, all that pressure, but I want to raise a good human. So if you're being a little shit with your brother, I always tell my boys, if you can't be a good brother, you can't be a good anything. This is the first relationship that you have. So figure it
I
out.
love it.
But
Oh,
yeah, and going back to the what you're saying with the schools, you wouldn't believe. I mean, I get a lot of trolls, but I get a lot of women, teachers that are leaving their public school situation and pulling their kids out. I mean, the whole furry thing. Like, do we want to go there? They're giving kid like adolescence, being a 5-year-old, being a teenager. I have two teenagers. Man, boys are emotional. If you think that the girls are the only ones, boys are too. They get their period, but not really, okay? Think of how confusing it is if we tried to go back to that time of our life.
yeah,
And now you're going to say you could be a dog.
yeah,
You could be like, I mean, yeah, no, use your imagination, but I'm like I had a teacher reach out to me 6 months ago in my DMs. I screenshotted, I have to find it for you. They had
yeah,
litter boxes for the freaking 8-year-old.
yes,
We're confused enough.
right,
So you don't need to be like fostering that with children. Whatever your belief system is, I'm not here to, I know what I believe. I know what the Bible says, and my kids are not little jerks. I mean, I'll go as far, I don't want to say it on here, but the jolly fat man, we don't even do
yeah,
that. Like,
yeah,
and I don't, and that's because my husband and I, our outlook on parenting from day one was, why did we do that? Why did they do that with us? How did we feel when we found out the jolly fat man was a hoax, or whatever it is? And we kind of just looked at each other like, not doing it.
yeah. No,
And
you're so right. And I have a homeschool family that I'm friends with, and he goes, well, if I'm going to teach my kids that there is a God, and no, and just to preface, we do
yeah,
Santa,
yeah,
but like it's like, okay, you get one gift, and I feel guilty about it every time. But
no,
he
no,
made
girl,
sense
do
when he
you?
said to me, he goes, I'm not going to teach my kids that there is someone that they can't see, that they need to believe in, that is going to reward them for being
Yeah,
good. And then also tell them there's a Santa, and then one day tell them Santa doesn't
yeah,
exist. And I was like, oh, that
that's
makes so much sense. And then I said to my
that's
sister-in-law this year at Christmas, because I am the conspiracy theorist that like ruins everything for everybody all the time. And she was like saying how, like I think they were making fun of me because we only have our son get one present from Santa on Christmas. And they were like, how can you do that? You're ruining his Christmas. And I was like, well, it's satanic anyway. And they're like, what?
no.
They go,
Oh
well,
my
what
gosh,
are the
yeah.
letters of
I mean,
Santa? Mix
let's
them around. It's Satan.
No, I mean, I'll never forget when my first son was, when we were figuring this all out, because obviously we grow as humans, and I was a child who had a child, basically. And my mom, she cried so hard, and she was like, "You're gonna ruin his this and that." And I mean, we didn't do Halloween either. And again, this is not shit. By the way, my kids get a million gifts on Christmas. So like, you do it better than me.
Well,
You do it more modest
no,
than
no,
me,
no.
but
We give him gifts from parents, and then like
got
Santa
it.
left one. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But what's the beauty of us being in 2025 as women, and like I said with this live, being able to communicate and connect like this is, I have friends that do the jolly man, and I respect them and love them, and they look at me, and my kids are able, because again, going back to focusing on character, not one of my sons have ever ruined that surprise for another kid,
Oh
because I'm not raising little a-holes.
yeah.
Like, you don't like, no, like, let the kids have their dream,
And
their imagine, all that. We did Snoop on a Stoop this year because we never did like the elf thing, and it was the funniest thing. And the young kids thought we were moving him around. But going back to what you said about the friend local, when I found out the fat man wasn't real, it ruined me.
Me
And I
too.
think that was because,
Me too.
and I don't want to speak for you, but I didn't have the cookie cutter
Yeah.
upbringing, and I almost felt like he was like my dad or something.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
when I found out, it really rocked me. It did
Me
not
too.
rock my husband.
Me
For
too.
my
No, I'm
husband,
the same. Like, no Christmas was ever the same until
ever.
I had children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man,
Exactly.
that magic of it, like I would love, and you can still, I guess I would challenge anyone listening to this, just really think through why you do what you do. I think there's way too many lab rats that are just doing it because, oh, my parents did this or my family did that. And, I fully support, like if my son's one day, because if you've seen anything I share, my oldest son was injured from a well visit. And so it really, and I went to nursing school. And it put my whole worldview, not to go off topic, but we can do that for another day on your podcast, of, the medical system and pharma and everything. And I don't want to get you unable to go live, so I'll shut my mouth now. But everything I was taught, whether it was from college or my upbringing, I never take anything at face value. And
Yeah.
I'm raising 4 other sons who will treasure their wives and cook for their wives and also know how to shoot a gun. And also, if they want to do Santa Claus, I'm going to I just think, use your brain,
Yes.
and and don't do it because everyone else is doing it. And I think that's what we're doing in raising this next generation of homeschooled kids. And the beautiful thing that happened in 2020 is I saw a revolution before my damn eyes, where I was like the 1% that shared her life online and homeschooled, and people followed me because of that. Then it was like a homeschool revolution, just like people
Yeah.
going, buying Bibles again and going to church. I am seeing the trajectory going in the direction that I would love to see it. And look, the beauty of us being free in America is, like, we all don't have to agree and we all can learn something from each other. So if you are someone that has your kid in school, try to put your phone down when they get home. If homeschooling is not for you, but I'm assuming you're listening to this because you're intrigued, or you're like these crazies over here, um, put the phone away, connect with your kids if it's not something that you want to do. But yeah, no, full circle moment is my advice. I know you said it, and I don't know if we have to cap this at a certain time. If
Yeah.
I
We
could,
head out at one,
yeah,
but yeah.
if I could give any advice to you, to anyone, whoever who might be looking at me, one, thinking that I'm a badass and I got it all figured out, is
Right.
I
Me
don't have it figured
neither.
out.
Me neither.
Girl, I'm winging it in my business, with my kids, and my marriage, but it's working out for me. But also, do not make school, your homeschool, look like school.
Agreed.
Do not do that. I built a custom home in South Carolina with a whole ass, it had like a library for the homeschool room. We never used it. We never used it. Okay. If you have a little tote and you put all the, like, you don't have to have money to do this. You don't, you can do this, and stop trying to make it look like conventional schooling. And homeschool is about freedom. It's not about making school at home look like school, at public school or private school. And trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust the fact that if God put it on you, that you can do this. And that's all I would like to tell Jackie from 10 years ago, is you got this. Put on your headphones and just ignore the rest. Like, we are badasses, all moms, homeschool moms, working moms, trad wives, not trad wives. And it's hard enough, so we need to stop joining in on this cancel campaign of like, oh well, they homeschool so they can be my friend, or they had their kid. No, no, it's hard enough being a mom. Like, we can unite. And so yeah, if your kids' eyes are open, they're learning. And I don't know, it's a journey for sure. And I can get on here in another 10 years when I have like a 20-year-old, which is petrifying, and we could talk about it some more.
Well, hopefully we'll touch base before then because I've had so
Yeah.
much fun. And I just want to touch on too, and that was a big thing, a big fear of mine. What are my kids going to miss out on? But you know what? We didn't celebrate Halloween this year for the first time. But you know what we did? We had probably 7 homeschooling families over our house. And the kids, I said, wear a costume if you want. Don't wear it if
Yeah.
you don't want. We did in the woods. I did a little storybook. There was things for them to
Love it.
find in the woods. They played manhunt when it got dark. Like, it was so much fun, way more fun than I've ever had on
Yeah.
Halloween. even in my college years.
Yeah.
I would, it's like, so you think about the prom and the football games, oh, they'll be missing out, but that's only because that's what you know. Think
Right.
about all the things you can create for your
Right.
kids that are even
And
more special. So
you
Jackie, thank you.
can.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
of
much for being here
course.
today. I am going to save this on my
Okay.
Instagram. I'm going to collaborate with you on your Instagram pages, and I'm going to release it as a podcast episode, probably YouTube as well. But where can people find you if they want to like follow
Yeah.
you more?
Yeah, so my main account is Real Raising Cubs, which they're getting older now, but it's because I'm the lioness and or mama, whatever you want to call me over here. So it's Real Raising Cubs. And then I have a coaching page that's Free Thinkology. That's what we're live on today. And then I do have a podcast, but it's not for homeschooling. It's for girl yap. And so you
Don't
want
walk
to you
in
want to wear
there.
your earmuffs.
If you're Amish, don't walk in there,
Yeah.
cuz
No,
but it is
Amish will
for,
not like it.
yes, for like if you just want like super
And girl talk.
entertaining and
Yeah.
fun girl talk and a
Not for
little bit of
kids.
creative thinking,
Yeah.
not for kids.
Yeah, not for kids. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'd love to come back. And yeah, I'm here anytime you guys want to talk more about this.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Of
Jackie.
course. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.